But some of the things we heard earlier on today was that less than 25% of you feel that you're really ready to truly harness AI value into the future. And then when we asked that sort of question around how you're going to leverage data effectively, when we talked about how you can improve decision making, that was the number one value you saw from your data-driven strategies. And of course, data and AI are very much linked together. So this morning, we're going to spend some time talking about how to achieve financial excellence and taking advantage of AI to enhance decision confidence, as Byron mentioned. And it's really my great pleasure to welcome firstly Jodie Meadows, former CFO at NRI. And thank you for joining us when you've had a little bit of a tumble, I think, over the weekend. So Jodie's been a real trooper and flew over from Perth to be here with us in person. So thank you, Jodie. We appreciate that. And we also have joining us here today, Shilpa Bhale, who's the Director of Strategy and Product Management at Oracle as well. To my left, Shilpa, welcome also. So let's go right into it, because we've only got about 30 minutes. We've got lots and lots of things to talk about to help the team sort of get some value from this conversation and take away some actionable insights as well. So firstly, I would not do justice introducing both of you and explaining your roles in detail. So I'm going to each feature that. So Shilpa first, can you maybe share with the audience here more about yourself and of course your role at Oracle? It's a fairly big title and it's a very big organization. So can you just give us a bit more of a perspective on that today?
Sure, Matt. Thank you and good morning all. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been working at the intersection of finance and technology for about 23 years in the finance transformation and advisory space, mainly to help organizations shape their investments and realize strategic business outcomes out of their investments. Now, most of you would know Oracle, some of you through our pedigree in databases, and most of you through the enterprise finance solutions that we've been providing over the years, starting from eBusiness Suite, JD Edwards, PeopleSoft, and now NetSuite, and most importantly, the Oracle ERP Cloud Fusion set of applications. So I am a strategy and product management lead for the Oracle ERP Cloud Finance Solutions. Now, in my role at Oracle, I work with finance leaders to understand their challenges and opportunities in the areas of operational efficiency, agility, the risks that they're facing, the compliance, as well as find those opportunities and feed that back into the strategy that creates our finance applications in order to deliver innovations that address each of these. Now, delivering finance capability as a software as a service model has allowed us to get these innovations very fast into the hands of finance leaders. We're seeing a lot of change come through with that, as well as we're getting the feedback really fast and essential. And it's a pleasure to see every time an organization is able to move a needle because of that innovation. So that's me, and pleasure to be here once again.
Perfect, Shilpa. Thank you very much. Jodie, again, a little bit about yourself and also your role, as the former CFO at NRI as well. But then also, Shilpa used the I word there, the innovation word, right? So we're going to talk a lot about innovation, I think, over the next sort of 8 hours or so. Can you maybe also introduce yourself, just share some of your perspectives in terms of the role you see finance in driving innovation? Because right now, Australia ranks about 24th on the Global Innovation Index. We're certainly lagging. We're kind of bouncing around there, and love to get a sense from you in terms of what role we can do to accelerate that within our organisations.
Sure. So I'm Jodie. I've been a Chief Financial Officer for about 20 years, and my last 5 years were at NRI, where we were on a significant digital transformation process and leading to a corporate restructure with our sister company, Planet, which I managed to complete very successfully into ending up making myself redundant at the end of it. So I'm looking for opportunities, anyway, it's been a fantastic process, which we actually did on Oracle Fusion. Where do I see innovation, or the finance leading innovation? As far as innovation goes, and particularly AI, you can go out and get a bespoke or proprietary AI solution, invest a lot of money, take a lot of risk, I think. Or you can go with an ERP solution and hopefully an end-to-end ERP solution. And generally it's the finance teams that lead an ERP, because at the core of it you've got finance, and then finance can bring along people and culture and human capital management modules and resourcing modules and all that. And finance can be at the centre of it. And I also think at NRI, I was we didn't have a CIO and a CISO. I was also responsible for corporate IT and cyber. And so by wearing that hat over all three areas, it also really helped to move that project along. So I think it's just great to have, AI and getting AI into your finance team seems like it's all very, very scary, and we're all at early stages. To be using an ERP that finance owns to bring in AI certainly makes it a lot easier, and it helps finance to push it through.
Mm-hmm. You're also seeing, obviously in your role there as CFO, but I think more broadly we're seeing that CFOs that are much more heavily involved in the whole sort of wide spectrum of tech decisions, right?
100%.
About 70% of all tech decisions go through the CFO.
100%.
So do you think that kind of helps or hinders the wider ability to innovate?
Well, I think it helps it because the finance people and the CFO, have a whole overview of the organisation, and it's not, the CEO has a whole overview as well, but other areas of the business do tend to be siloed, but the CFO is a person who has a great oversight of everything, and so should be involved in all technical decision makings.
That's a great point. It's really the only role which does encompass pretty much everything, so that's a good point. Thanks, Jodie. Shilpa, sort of building on that a bit more, you spoke about business outcomes, right? We've been talking about business outcomes for a very long time. We're all in a cost-optimized environment at the moment. We've got to demonstrate real value from the investments we're making. The classic, we need to do more with less, or we need to do more with the same, if you like, as well. But from your perspective, when you think about technology, big technology kind of conversation, where do you see how areas of finance and technology can potentially have that biggest impact, so that biggest sort of business outcome?
Absolutely, Matt. So there are two standouts for me in that space, right? Where technology can help finance in big ways. One is in getting to touchless operations, and we heard, Dr. Terry speak about the improving operations as being one of the stages. That touchless operations is basically the area where we've seen the automation of doing the mundane activities and helping with that coming for a long time. But now with investments like AI and machine learning, you can turn them into areas where very little or no human involvement is necessary. It can be exception-based handling. It can be suggestions around improving the quality of, let's say, accounting and the data that's normally coming in. And that's where a solid productivity advantage is resting. Think about image recognitions, in terms of invoice processing, when you get heaps of information coming in different formats through different electronic channels, and you can utilize these technologies to make the process really seamless and get to that ready-to-pay invoice stage really fast, so that you may be able to meet the supplier liability cases. We spoke about data quality playing a paramount role in all of this, and AI and machine learning are at a stage where they can help with those aspects as well. Give it data, give it the patterns, and allow it to enrich it to get it within the boundaries of that acceptable, good data quality. The second aspect that's a standout for me is predictive insights. The moment you start getting into that touchless operations means you've now got the data coming in fast and at a great quality, which means now you can harness all of the analytical machine learning and AI capabilities to predict, to forecast your business operations, run what-if simulations, and essentially, as CFOs, be prepared for any kind of decisioning and steer the business outcomes. And that's where your confidence in decisioning can get enhanced through this. Effectively, it translates into faster, month-end processes, auto reconciliations of activities. Oracle is known for being one of the fastest in closing our own books. We do it in 9 days, and we possibly have that top spot in the S&P 500 list of organizations. So that's basically because we're drinking our own medicine. We're basically kind of, looking at process excellence and utilizing all of these technologies to put to use. So that would be my most tool.
Okay. And I guess one of the side benefits of that also is that as you look at sort of touchless operations and sort of faster decision making, that sort of thing, you're also at the same time freeing people up from mundane tasks,
100%.
right? So that you can have a side benefit of helping of retaining talent as well.
100%,
okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, great. Jodie, if you consider sort of the rapidly changing landscape, if you think about the future of the finance function, so we talk a lot about AI and machine learning and the impact it's going to have on people and roles and tasks and that sort of thing. Can you maybe give us a sense of your vision of the future of the finance function, but then also what role analytics specifically can play for finance leaders, right? So a couple of things there.
Yeah, sure. So we've made at NRI, I keep saying we, even though I'm not there anymore, so please excuse that.
Takes a long time sometimes to stop doing that.
Made significant improvements in our speed to close month end, where we'd close off the Oracle sub-modules halfway through day one, everything below the line at the end of day 2, and have my first look at above the line day 4. And then a few more days worth of reconciling balance sheet after that. So that has meant that the team is a lot more freed up. And I think that, CFOs and finance teams are going to be going from this historical view of always doing month end and looking at historical information and analysing that, to freeing up the time then to be looking a lot more at the forward information and the lead indicators, weekly forecasting and being well ahead of the game. So a lot less focus on the historical information and auditing to helping the business. And so that's where the analytics comes into it, where the finance people are going to get the opportunity, because of all this extra time, to be then working with other parts of the business to help bring them on the journey and help them understand all of their analytics.
That's a good point, isn't it? Because when you talk about sort of bringing all the other parts of the business on that journey as well, at the end of the day, when we talk to, CFOs, we talk to CIOs and CISOs, time and time again, they tell us sort of competing business priorities is the thing that's really holding them back. Yep. But I think what you were talking about there is that if we can kind of get that sort of common purpose, that common goal, we can overcome some of those challenges and ultimately work collectively.
Yes. And then you can put finance. I have had finance members sitting in all weekly sales meetings and all operational meetings, so that we could try and glean all the information that we needed, or that we need to start to learn how we can be providing more and more insight to the business as time goes on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. All right, Shilpa, let me come back to you as well. I want to just shift gears a little bit. So obviously in your role, you talk to a lot of CFOs, a lot of finance executives around the region more broadly, beyond Oracle. And if you think about the innovation piece, obviously Jodie's talked about how we can get people working collectively towards this as well. When we think about innovation, we think about AI. One of the things which really holds us back is this kind of risk aversion, right? There's a real sort of sense in terms of how can we make sure that we're not adding risk into the equation, into the department as well. So how can we sort of balance the need to sort of accelerate investment in AI, improve innovation, but at the same time manage internal risk sort of appetites or not, as the case may be?
Absolutely, that's a hard one, Matt.
I know.
And every finance leader, I think, in this room has thought about this. So finance leaders definitely want to achieve innovation, but they definitely do not want to do it at the cost of, compliance, risk, and unnecessary risk exposures. There are two things that are becoming really important in this game. Is one, we need to have the finance functions and organizations in general develop the trust in AI and the outcomes that AI and machine learning is generating. You might not in the beginning want to have your entire external report, churned out through an AI engine, but you would definitely want to encourage getting a draft or authored a particular section, start looking at variants of numbers and going with that. And that's a particular way of investing in developing the trust with AI. The other thing that we've heard throughout in the morning, especially Jim spoke about it in the morning as well, is about that robust data governance framework, having a data-driven culture. We definitely need in the finance leaders, the organization's data framework, the discussion around policy, governance, its implementation, and keeping upkeep with it. How some of our customers are beginning to balance that equation is, one, by starting small, so they start to leverage and go after very use case specific AI innovation that we're delivering. How that helps is sometimes the AI use case only needs a specific data set. And the data set, let's say, is already validated numbers from your ledger. That way, the exposure to the data, the exposure to the risk is limited, as well as you're getting to experience the innovation and the benefits that come out of the AI. So going after use case specific AI, as well as possibly, there's a lot of organizations that have, in fact, most of the organizations have an AI strategy and are in that first stage of experimenting. But having and waiting for an enterprise-wide AI strategy to unfold has a very heavy mindset of risk management, data management, and policy guardrails being put in place. In order to balance that, you could start leveraging what's available to you in applications. So for example, there are applications like Oracle Fusion and others that are providing use case specific AI that is available to use, which is being developed by the vendor, maintained by the vendor. You do not need a lot of investment and maintenance going into it, and you start leveraging that. And that becomes a good aspect of being able to balance that innovation with, with the risk management. Of course, given Oracle has the advantage of also being a technology company, there's a lot of focus that has gone in from the days of the databases in the CIA into security and privacy. And so that obviously comes hand in hand. But in general, to balance out the innovation, you would start small, you would experience the use case specific AI while there's an enterprise-wide AI strategy unfolding.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did a roundtable last week in Melbourne, actually, with about 20 data and AI leaders, and the general consensus at the end of that was that if we take sort of that incremental approach, that use case approach, and demonstrate value along the way to that wider sort of vision, if you like, then we're far more likely also, I guess, the side benefit of that, Shilpa, is that we get the organizational buy-in as well, particularly if we line those use cases to some of the key decision makers as well.
The return on investment is pretty visible and it's fast. And so, it just benefits the entire organization that way.
Okay. NRI actually did one of those only about 2 months ago, where a release came out that had the accounts payable invoice recognition.
Yep.
And so that any invoices that come through get read, get processed through the system, get matched to purchase orders, all happens automatically. We made sure that it worked, adjusted all our policies. It worked, bang, turned it on, and within 24 hours we realised that we could reduce our headcount in accounts payable by 50%, and was able to move those resources into another area where we're working on fixing some things.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It was quick and easy, so I'm not, not pushing Oracle's but it was really good.
Well, as part of that, when you talk about sort of freeing up those resources, which obviously is a great benefit, was there a need almost to, before you embark on that, identify where you could reallocate those resources so that you kind of got all the ducks in a row, if you like, Jodie?
Well, for this particular case, there was that opportunity, but when COVID hit, we got some instructions from NRI in Tokyo to reduce the finance team by 30%. We needed to, in a 6-week period, bring on a lot of Oracle's automation in a very quick period of time. So we had a lot of that and reduced the size of our team then. But now whenever anyone chooses to leave through natural attrition, we're pushing people up the chain, and not really bringing in many entry-level people or data entry type people at all now. So the team is definitely reducing, but it is progressive.
Okay, I just want to build a bit more on some of those things as well, Jodie. So when we think about, leveraging data more effectively, we all talk about, we've got to get more data to make the right decisions. So how can we, if you like, move from a mindset or culture of just gathering data to actually capitalising data? What I mean by that is that we heard earlier on as well, and we hear this time and time again, is that what's holding us back in many ways is a lack of an aligned culture, creating a data-driven culture.
Yes.
Can you maybe share some thoughts in terms of how we can approach building the right culture to therefore capitalise more effectively on data, then by default AI as well?
I don't know if I have the actual answer to this, but I have a story that happened only just as I was leaving. I was sitting with the heads of the 3 different sales pillars, trying to find out what good sales looks like and what great sales looks like, because we'll talk about all of this data that we've got, but I was trying to work out, well, what don't we have, right? Are we collecting the right data now so that when we're going to use all this analytics and all this AI, are we actually collecting the right data? So I met with them to try and take them on the journey, right? Just to, if everyone works together and try and get their buy-in and get them thinking about it. And I was saying, what does that really initial sales activity look like? When it's not in this pipeline, it's not in your CRM, what does it look like? Is it X number of thought leadership pieces published per month? Is it this many hits on the website? Is it that many coffees and this many lunches? And I said, and this many phone calls. And it was suddenly, whoa, we're not a call centre, we're not logging how many phone calls we're making, why do you need that data? And there was a resistance. So, and it was, some of the resistance was always finance trying to get into our business, or into what we do. Are they saying that what we're doing isn't satisfactory? So I don't necessarily have the answer for that, but it's definitely something that needs to be worked out. And so, my strategy was to try and put finance people in all of their meetings and that, to try and glean what they also thought, not spies, but, just to have some people in there. Right. But to try and get collaboration, try and take everybody on, to work together and take everyone on the journey, and not make it that, we were trying to gather information to point fingers at people because their area of the business might not be as successful as others.
Okay, great. Well, Shilpa, I'd love to get your thoughts on that as well, because, when we think about AI specifically and becoming data-driven, the number one default is it's going to improve productivity, right? And then our people think, that means we're going to lose our job. Yeah. So how do we kind of shift the conversation? So how do we shift the conversation from the negative to the positive, right? That the early adopters of AI have accelerated automation, they've improved ultimately the experience their employees are facing. You got any examples you could share on that?
Also, one of the key observations that we've had from some of our customers who've been on this innovation journey is that they've started looking at process excellence as a whole. And what that has made them do is recognize the role of global process owners. And these people have become champions of change within the organization, because now they're able to look at the holistic process, look at how many times the data changes hands in completing that holistic process, and are best placed to identify the opportunities to leverage that productivity in one sense. The other shift that we're noticing is in the olden days, it's been common that finance has had to employ a lot of IT skills of their own in order to gather that data, run reports, and so you had this recognition of I'm a finance person, but I also know how to work in Excel. I can run an SQL or get the data from here. Now there's a shift in the finance people being able to work with data scientists, right? So there's a shift around the kind of changing landscape of skills that are coming into picture. Technology is not a requirement, but the learning attitude and the learning mindset has become even more important. The mindset of being able to adopt technology rather than adapt a particular application to your needs has become important. So there's definitely those shifts that are happening. But an interesting one with the early adopters is that because they've had the time to get to the technology early, they've learned the process of gaining trust with AI. And so they can now begin to push the boundaries and understand where they can leverage this better. The skills of those people who've been in those organizations and been the early adopters are highly valued because they're the ones who've seen adopting this technology fast, and they're being really valued as people who can bring about that change in other organizations, as well as they're setting the pace for the adoption. So those are some of the changing skills observations that are coming across as well.
So do you think also it's important that we, and again, conversations I've been having have really leaned into, we need to sort of encourage and also help build cultures of curiosity, right, amongst our people as well. We need our people to be curious, not scared of technology, but really curious in how they can leverage it more effectively.
Absolutely, and the best way to do that is to get to it early and start experimenting. Like nothing like having a ChatGPT at your disposal, and within a number of weeks and months, there was a good understanding of what ChatGPT can do for you, where it's good at, where it's not good at, and how do you employ it to kind of, within your organizational boundaries to start leveraging business outcomes. And that's exactly the case, start leveraging what's available to use through the applications that are providing those AI use cases to you. Get to it, start experimenting, and build that trust.
Okay. Jodie, let me come to you because I want to build a bit more on that as well, because as we think about this, we're all struggling to get the right talent, right? We're all struggling to get the right skills within the organisation, particularly as we see this war on talent around things like data and AI. If we look ahead into your crystal ball, with the finance function in general, what are some of the skills we really need to double down on to be future ready, if you like? And I guess I'm asking that question because as we free our people up from some of these mundane areas, what are the skills we need to be thinking about focusing on?
So, there's all the technical areas, but the thing that I see is that a lot of people that have gone into finance, and chose it as a profession are quiet, introverted people who are very happy sitting in their corner of the office doing their journals and doing their bank reconciliations and popping their head up when there's a morning tea on, but they're very quiet people. And now that they're going to be a lot more involved in helping the business with the wider interpretation of data, they're going to need to come out of their shell and work on their communication skills and become influencers, which is certainly not within a lot of their natural skill sets, certainly not within my team. So that's going to be a really interesting part. And the other part of future skill sets, which I haven't quite worked out how it's going to work yet, but at NRI in particular, we'll bring people through the ranks, right? So they might come through accounts payable, accounts receivable, have their university degree, be studying CPA or chartered or whatever, and work their way up. So therefore they understood the nuts and bolts of the business, and they really understood the old debits and credits and bank reconciliations and everything that comes together, which you don't really get a grip on at university. It's more when you're in there doing the work. Mm-hmm. So when that eventually gets removed, where are these people going to develop that initial overview of the business or that skill set? I went to the mechanic the other day when I could drive, and he was all clean, and he plugged my car in to do the service, and he wasn't covered in oil and grease. And I was thinking, well, maybe that's what it's going to be like, right? Mechanics used to be able to know how to get under the engine and fix the car, and now they just plug it in and get told what's wrong with it. So I'm just trying to work out how finance people of the future are going to really understand how it all hangs together, or if they're just not going to need to do that and they're just going to be more just analysts.
So, I don't know whether I could ever trust a clean mechanic. Shilpa, we've got a little bit of time left and some great discussion points here, but just, very quickly, if you think about the one thing you would say to everyone here today to sort of walk out when they think about maximising value from data and AI and accelerating that journey, what's the one thing you'd ask them to think about a little bit more deeply?
Coming into the session, I would have basically, started with, don't wait, get to it, hit and try, experiment and start with where you are in your journey. Listening to everything that's gone, since morning, there's also the couple of things about. Actually, they've just resonated the same opinion. I think wherever you are, wherever you are in the AI jungle, whether you're the koalas or the turtles, find a way to leverage what you've got, experiment, and then there's essentially become partners with the technology to set the pace for that adoption, such that the data is getting leveraged properly and the technology is actually working for you in terms of getting those business outcomes that you so really want.
Yep, exactly. Look at the ERP that you've got, because they're already giving you AI solutions. It's already in there. You just need to pull it out. And same with whatever software providers you're doing. Software providers and ERP providers are not going to be relevant if they're not delivering it already. So just make the most of it because it's in there.